You know, this is not good. Is it horrible because of the messaging? The messaging is subtle, but this show is committing a sin that no television show can commit, in that it is boring, in that the characters are not engaging, in that at the end of the day, I'm not even full of hate, I'm full of boredom. This is dumb, it's insultingly slow, and the messaging is just, it destroyed the plot.
And it's so hard to want to see more because it's this entitled attitude that writers have now, or what you call writers.
Well, I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's just like that whole ending sequence doesn't make sense. It's like it's like, okay, no, it's like, I forgot who said it. I don't know, but they've written back. They write backwards. They have a scene that they need to end a certain way, so then they write backwards. Like, okay, so we need Joel and Tess to discover that Ellie is positive. All right, now let's figure out how we get there. That's not how you should write, right? I mean, I don't know. It's just the weirdest thing because it's like, okay, like, what's this guy doing out in the middle of nowhere? Didn't they take the tunnel to not have to deal with all that shit? Like, that's what I thought the whole point was.
They cut everything out that made you bond with Joel and go, I want Joel to get where he's going. I mean, they changed Joel entirely. He's a neutered, denutted nobody, not a smuggler. And with Robert, it was all about guns. Yeah. Robbie fucked them over for guns and gave them to the Fireflies, and like, they had to kill a bunch of people to get to Robert, and then they killed Robert, and because they killed Robert, that's why Marlene said, I'll give you the guns if you get this girl to the state capitol house. But now they're doing all this shit for a fucking battery? A fucking battery?
Well, the battery, now they're getting a truck, all to get to Joel, or to get to Tommy, who he should have no idea is alive. Like, so, I don't know. It takes away from that eventual reunion, right? I mean...
Tommy, when he saw his brother, how many years had gone by? 5, 10 years? What the fuck are they doing with this show?
They thought, as far as I know, I mean, like, I'm far from a game expert, but, like, I thought they both thought each other were dead. They would never see each other again. That's what I thought, but I don't know.
Purple, what do you think about this?
Again, they've taken an IP and just kind of mutilated it. They've taken all the characters, but taken away any of the heart or any reason to care for them. It took way too long. It's, 25, 30 minutes before we even got to any actual action. We spent way too long with the daughter getting to know her.
Well,
and she's going to be popping up in flashbacks throughout the whole series.
Oh, God. Well, and then holy moly predictable.
Oh, yeah.
Like, holy moly. Like, how many scenes did I call? Like, like, I don't know. Like, Nerdporeal is like, oh my God, you're right again.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I mean, I'm barely paying attention. I don't know. Just didn't strike my interest.
Well, there's nothing that makes you care about these characters.
Yeah.
The characters are not the way they were in the story, and not just like nitpicky. Joel is not Joel. Joel's motivations for having to take Ellie out of the city have been completely taken away. Why? Because what? Because we can't have pro-gun messaging? Is that it? Because that's all I got. We got Marlene doing way more than we should have Marlene do, and they took shit away from her where it could have been interesting, but it's not. And then you got Ellie chained up in a room. Ellie was, what the fuck was that about? Then you got Tess, and I mean, they're just filling out an hour and a half, not actually doing the story that was in the game to do this, which is boring. It's boring.
I think that's the worst part about the whole thing. It was pretty damn boring. Like, I wasn't even like, okay, this story is weird, but at least, like, I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on. I was like the rain, when they were crawling out through the tunnel there and the rain was going, I literally started to drift off because it's like, ooh, rain sounds.
I know. I made a drink.
Make you want to sleep.
I made a drink and I started washing dishes. You know why? Because I didn't care. It wasn't. This is not a hate watch. This is a Christ. Please make this end.
Oh, I don't hate. I'm very indifferent to this. It's just like, I watched the game scenes like you suggested. Like I watched just a playthrough of just the cinematic parts of the game, just so I could have some sort of an opinion when this came out. And it's just like I'm not attached to it nearly as much as other people, but it's just boring. I was bored.
Sarah, you played Purple. You played this when it first came out.
I did, and this is one of those benchmark games. There's a reason why it's listed in the top 10 games in most lists when they come out, but this really doesn't have much bearing. I don't know whether it's because it's the disconnect, because you're not playing as the characters, but it took too long to actually introduce the characters, and when you do get them, they're shadows of what they are in the game.
Yeah, and in the meantime, they're filling up an hour and a half with stuff that was never in the game that doesn't help the characters. If anything, it impedes your ability to care about Joel and Ellie, which is all you should be caring about. You should have empathy or sympathy for Tess. You should be indifferent toward Marlene. You should hate Robert. And you know what you should know anything about? Somebody named Frank. Because Frank's not in the game. And Bill, you shouldn't know anything about Bill. And this bullshit, I'm going to say it again, with the batteries, the only reason this fucking show changed it was because Hollywood is anti-gun. Unless it's for their own private security forces. Unless it's for their own, people that they pay to protect them. But the rest of us, we don't need them. This show is nothing but fucking ideology.
Well, and shouldn't you be mostly attached to Ellie as a character? And I don't know. I'm not like, I don't like Ellie so far. She's annoying.
Ellie had a knife on her in the game, but she was endearing. She was precocious. She's not in this. She's unlikable and irritating.
She also didn't have encephalitis like Bella Ramsey looks like. Now, everybody's going to say I'm being cruel, but they've gone out of their way to take a young woman who I'm sure is attractive, but to make her as ugly and boy-like as possible. And not only that, her character is really unlikable. You don't care about Ellie. You don't care about her at all. And if you don't care about Ellie and there's nothing endearing about her, and Joel has no nuts and isn't Joel, then what are we doing? This is a non-adaptation.
It's also interesting to note that they said they wanted to steer away from all the cliches of previous zombie tropes, but they've hit all of them.
Well, especially with the exactly. We said the same thing. The zombie chase is just like, well, this looks exactly like every other. It was like I had popped on World War Z at work just because I was bored. It looked exactly like one of those zombies, just jumping around, throwing himself through stuff, fast zombie stuff. Right? That's. Of course, and wait, that wasn't the old woman in the wheelchair, which I saw coming about 5 miles away. But yeah,
it's a shame. It's a shame because this could have been so much fun. It could have launched action figures in a cinematic universe. It really could have, but they went out of their way to make this plotting, bloated show that feels really small and really cheap. And they're going to make all the excuses about COVID and all this other shit. I'm tired of hearing it, okay? They're Hollywood. I'm the consumer. This is substandard. Pedro Pascal, I don't know if he was just told to phone it in, but he's weak and pathetic. And if that's who our protagonist is, I don't want that. And Ellie is not Ellie. This isn't the game. This isn't the story.
Also, they had a massive budget for each of these episodes. They haven't confirmed it, but it's in the ballpark of 10 million per episode.
Well,
I'm not seeing that on screen.
Well, what do you mean? We got a plane crash. We had plane crashes
little tendrils coming out of the zombie mouth.
Yeah, well, we had two cars ram into each other and become a 50-foot wall that Tommy couldn't get around. I don't know. I know I've talked to Nerdporeal about it, but I'm a big believer in video games don't need adaptations to the big screen. Just play the video game.
I agree.
Well, no, it's a completely separate medium, and having seen this and what they did with Halo, I have absolutely no hope for God of War, which is coming as well.
That's
With
DOA. I mean, Rafe Judkins is involved in
Rafe,
that.
that show's been rafed, or that
It's rafed already. But I just, it's like, do what I did. If you're interested in the IP, if you're interested in the story, you've heard it's good. Watch somebody play through the game, and you'll it'll be like watching a movie or watching a TV show.
Please, I mean, and you can find games that are like 7-8 hours, and you will get a couple evenings entertainment out of them. No idiots are talking while they're playing the game. It looks beautiful, and you get to watch and see this incredible world with an incredible story with characters that you care deeply about. And it's only a video game, and I'm watching someone else play a video game. These guys had $100 million. And it is orders of magnitude. There's absolutely no comparison. And maybe you're right. Maybe you can't adapt video games to the big screen, but it certainly doesn't seem like what made the characters in the game was even attempted to be brought to screen. And what was attempted was every opportunity for intersectional feminism, ideology, identity politics, and the way it looks like is LGBTQ representation. What's your rating out of 10, Sarah, for this episode of television?
Wow. I'd give it a 3. But the only thing that I thought was decent was the music. But that's not saying much when it comes to a show with such an immense budget and huge cast.
Nerdporeal, what about you out of 10?
I'd have to rewatch it.
Give me a number. Come on.
Based on my investment, probably a 4.
Wow. Oh my God, that's gangster. I'm going to give it a 2.5. And the reasons why are, I don't know how you can take a zombie-filled world with Joel Miller and Ellie and make it as unrecognizably boring as what was done. And, if I were just sitting down and watching this in television and didn't know the backstory, I would never watch another episode of this show again. There's no compelling reason to tune in next week.
Yeah, I know.
There are so many cliffhangers in the game, but that would have required Joel to not be a neutered, sad, pathetic beta like he's in the show.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why I kind of checked out right away. Especially in the beginning with the daughter and all that. I'm just like, oh, this again?
Are you looking forward to the second episode, Purple Valkyrie?
No, not at all. I'm going to go rewatch the gameplay.
Yeah, if we're lucky, maybe it'll only be 45 minutes. But
it's been 3 years since I played that game, and I only played it once, so I barely remember the details.
Well, don't worry. Episode 3 is supposed to be the best of the series with the gay love story and backstory for Bill and Frank, which, again, was not even part of the game. Prophet of the Dragon, what is your rating out of 10?
Oh, well, let's see. I'm trying to be, let's not be. So if on a scale of Wheel of Time is -10, oh, man.
Purple gave it a 3. Nerdporeal gave it a 4. I gave it a 2.
I'm giving it I'd say a 4. I'm trying to not be such a cynical piece of, crap. I don't know. It was definitely below average. 3 or 4, I think, just because if they gave Pedro Pascal something to do, I could see him pulling off Joel. Some of the Tommy stuff was fine, like the pre disaster stuff. I like the intro, the intro into the show. That whole explaining what the fungi and why it was, it was actually.
Yeah, that was actually not bad.
I like that part because it sort of laid out exactly what was going to be happening. So I like that. Anything with a plane crash gets an extra point. No, I'm kidding. So 3 or 4, I think, if I'm trying to be objective. Yeah, I guess 3.5. We'll just say 3.5.
And it's dumb. It's boring and dumb.